Hi everyone, and welcome to Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising Spiritual Connection reading. Welcome. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Welcome. So all of the content here on my YouTube channel and on my website are here to help you work with the Triad of Engagement, which is a tool that I've designed that utilizes the three basic principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation, and shows you how when applied together they can keep you fully engaged and feeling in flow with the unique energetic imprint of your life. They're also here to help you answer your very own I am question, so that you can re-engage with life in a more authentic, meaningful, and emotionally fulfilling way. If you guys are or if you're interested in learning more about the Triad of Engagement, I have a couple links in the description box below where you can get a chance to see how it can help liberate you from the feelings of anxiety, fear, frustration, detachment, and reconnect you with the feelings of purpose and meaning and being able to see your place in the world. Now, Libra, we're going to get right into your reading. I apologize if you guys hear some outside noise. My neighbor has quite the yard. I would say it's almost a farm, and he's out there mowing right now, so you're going to hear that every once in a while. All right, so the way this reading works is we're going to take a look at, Libra, your internal, unique spiritual energy, combined with the external environment and the energy that you're being asked to engage with. And then we're going to pull some cards to see really why you're being asked to engage right now, what this is going to help unlock about yourself, and possible blocks in you doing so in a free way, which is going to, again, illuminate and help you utilize some gift, ability, hope, or dream in your external environment. All right, Libras. So first I'm going to pull cards for your energy. Let's see what you guys are sitting with currently. For all my lovely Libras. I actually have a Libra moon. So Libra is my moon placement sign. And Ace of Cups. Beautiful. So I really understand working with your energy. It's when you have Libra in your moon placement, it's almost like Libra intensified. It's I end up really acting, I think, in a way where I tend to, on an emotional side, really tap into your energy, and I love the Libra energy. So for all of you who get a chance to work with that energy, which is the energy of justice, fairness, balance, these are your superpowers. Congratulations, because it's such a needed, necessary energy in our world, especially in our world today. So Libra, before I pull your external energy card, we're going to take a look at the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is, and it's very, I'd say in its most specific, and sorry guys, I'm getting distracted by looking outside and making sure that my neighbor's missing a kid who's playing in his yard. Anyways, back to your reading. So we have the Ace of Cups. So the Ace of Cups, in its very basic meaning, is literally just the gift of emotional fulfillment from and love from the divine. This is that knowing that we always have a full cup, and it's at our disposal to be able to tap into. This is also can represent, depending on the situation, new love. It can represent a deep emotional connection or the start of something that will continue to grow into a deep emotional connection. So beautiful energy that you're sitting with right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and see what your external energy is working with right now and what they're asking, why they're asking you now to engage this kind of energy with your external environment, what is it gonna help unlock about you? Ooh, the High Priestess. Beautiful card. So the High Priestess is a major arcana card, and it really signifies the understanding that we can tap into all knowledge within ourselves, especially in the realm of making decisions. And Libra, you guys sometimes get a bad rap for not being able to make decisions easily because you are so good at being able to see both sides or all sides of a situation. And again, because I have Libra in my moon placement, I understand this. I think maybe even better than some of you who have Libra as a sun or rising sign. But it really comes down to understanding that we can always go within and have the necessary information at our disposal by connecting to spirit to be able to make judgment calls and decisions. And I think combined together with the Ace of Cups, this is a really interesting dynamic in you sitting with this full cup, this knowledge that you have this gift of love and emotional fulfillment from the divine that is yours at your disposal. And now you're being asked how I kind of see this is to engage with your external environment in a way that's going to share this newfound connection to love and emotional fulfillment, but understand in engaging this with basically sharing your cup, sharing your love with your external environment, but really tapping into knowing as you engage with your external environment what to do with this, how to utilize it, being able to understand that, again, the answers are within you, so you get the choice to decide where and how this is to be utilized. So I'm going to pull some cards here to tell me kind of like what are the areas of fear and anxiety and emotional disconnection that you're currently experiencing that are preventing you from really tapping into this beautiful energy here and engaging with this highly intuitive and very eye-opening energy on this side. Now, what I call this area right here is the void. The void, you guys can learn more about the void if you click on the first Triad of Engagement link, the one that says a visual experience. But the void is basically, it's what we create as we move from childhood into adulthood. Each time we attempt to bring out a internal, unique part of ourselves and engage it with our external environment, we can come into contact with less than positive results, meaning every time we try to bring a part of ourselves out and we get a negative result, or what we perceive as a negative result, somebody telling us that part of ourselves shouldn't be seen, somebody laughing at us or critiquing that part of ourselves, or just simply failing at something that we've tried to utilize a part of ourselves in completing in the external environment, we start to build layers of what I call the void, but specifically they're masking layers. They're layers that prevent you from allowing that part of yourself to come out into and engage with your external environment again, so that that part of yourself can't be hurt. But the problem that happens is that we end up creating at a certain point, especially by the time we get into our 30s and even into our 40s, where we start to get to this point in our lives where if we're not careful, these layers of masking and trying to protect certain parts of ourselves can become a void. a void of disconnection, of emotional disconnection between ourselves and our external environment, because we are now trying to protect so much of ourselves that we are no longer actually authentically engaging with our external environment. Instead, we are kind of going through the motions, but nothing holds value for us because we're not authentically engaging any part of our unique abilities, our hopes, our needs, our gifts, and we're masking them from a place of fear and anxiety. And this is also where our learned negative thought patterns lie. So really what the Triad of Engagement, the tool that I've created to help you work with curiosity, courage, and contemplation, helps you to become aware of this void and to learn how to navigate across it. You know, it will never get rid of the feelings of fear and anxiety and frustration, because in reality, all emotions have a purpose. But we also shouldn't allow negative emotions to prevent us from living ourselves, our unique singular selves, into life. Because when we do that, what we end up doing and what ends up happening is that the external environment, the entire human collective experience, loses out on us and our gifts and our needs and our abilities, and they don't benefit from them. And it's my belief that we all have a specific purpose and a place, and if you're not engaging with your external environment, you're never going to see where that is. And you're never going to really fulfill being of service to others, because you're never going to actually be engaging the best parts of yourself with your external environment. Okay, so Libra, to get into kind of the story that I'm seeing here. The first card for you, so just to go over all of these cards, we have Judgment, Ace of Swords, the Moon, Prince of Wands, which in this deck would be the Knight of Wands in the traditional tarot, and the World. So Judgment here. This first card generally for me shows me in this area of blockage, this is kind of that first point. So whenever you, as a younger person, had tried to bring out or work with this kind of energy in the past, this was the first taste that you had of, ooh, I don't like that. That didn't work out so well. I don't want to be that vulnerable. And this is where your fear point, your sticking point, is between these two first cards. So Judgment. Card of Judgment is a very tricky card as a major arcana in the tarot. Judgment really portends transformation. In the card itself, you can see here that it's people rising literally from the dead as new versions of themselves. They're being called forth to come up, and it's kind of almost has that feeling of now is the time. And it's when Judgment comes into play, this is not something that can be avoided. This is when a large life change is coming, and when we know that we are feeling this need to now come forward as a new version of ourselves. But where fear comes into play with Judgment is that usually this requires us to make a very big change. That, you know, Judgment and the Tower card in the tarot can kind of be similar energies, where the Tower card is more about the external environment coming in to shake something up and tear something down in your life so that you can move forward fresh. It's when we become stagnant and aren't willing to see the way forward, aren't willing to take help from the universe. And so the universe says, okay, I'm going to remove this that you're clinging to so that you're forced to make a different decision. Judgment is a little different in that it is kind of a similar energy, in that it is your external environment coming in and saying, okay, this is the shakeup, now's the time. But instead of tearing down something in your life, it's basically coming from this place of internal calling, of you feeling all of a sudden that nothing fits anymore. that you are a different person and you know it. And so it's an energy for myself when I work with this in my practice, that it's a little harder because we can't blame external circumstances the way that we can with the Tower card. In that, well, I got laid off from my job, so I was forced to have to go look for a new job. Or my apartment complex was, purchased and torn down, so I had to look for another place to live. Instead, judgment is on the internal level, where we wake up one day and we just know that nothing fits anymore. That perhaps the home life we've created for ourselves doesn't fit. The partner we've selected to be with us in a romantic setting is no longer part of this grander plan or vision for yourself. The job you've been at for 20 plus years is no longer the job you continue to want to do. It's one of these kinds of internal awareness shakeups that is very hard to ignore the call. And this is where frustration can come in. This is really where fear and frustration. Now, in the past, what I'm seeing here in this whole depiction is that probably in the past at some point, Libra, you felt this calling. You felt this, you woke up one day, and it could be that, you went to school and got a degree in who knows what, in law. And all of a sudden, one day you wake up and realize, well, I don't actually like law. I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't like what I'm doing. I want to go back to school and become a teacher. Or I want to go and travel the world and, post things on Instagram. Whatever it is, it's that all of a sudden you had this about face with who you were and what you identified with strongly at that time. And probably what happened is now you're sitting again with a second element of the judgment is coming up again in your life. You're starting to feel like you don't belong, or something's not right, or that things are just not connecting correctly because a new version of yourself is emerging. But where the fear comes from is that in the past, it probably, the previous change that you had to make shook things up quite a bit. And maybe not always in the best way. It might have been that you had to go against maybe parents who, were upset that you walked away from, $200,000 in school debt and a law degree to then go back to school, incur more debt to become a teacher who makes far less money. Or you had to walk away from a significant other that was very difficult and, created some, big maybe changes for you financial wise or your living environment. And so now you're there's a scary point of like, well, I already went through that and I can't do it again. I can't, I already told people I was this and I can't change. And the beauty is you can always change. We change as people. It's a fallacy to believe that people don't change. When we say that, that means that the person doesn't want to change. Generally, when we say that in a negative connotation towards somebody, when we say, well, people just don't change. Well, that's when we're talking about somebody who is not on a path of evolutionary growth, which I believe we all are. We're on a path of evolutionary growth in all aspects of our life, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental. And we just can see one side more than the other, which is our physical. We can see ourselves physically growing, physically evolving. But we have a hard time seeing how we grow on our mental, emotional, and spiritual levels because those are internal to us. And oftentimes we're not taught how to engage those parts of ourselves in new and dynamic ways, especially when engaging with our external environment, to see how we have to continue to develop and grow those parts of ourselves as well. Now, this is in direct competition with, or not competition, I always say that, Sorry guys. Mercury stations direct tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. This is in direct conflict with the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords is your personal truth. It's also clarity. This is divine clarity on something. And how I'm seeing these two in conflict is that right now you're feeling that call to make a change. And the clarity that's coming through and your personal truth that's coming through is there. You see it. You know it. But you're avoiding it because of this, the moon. The moon is the unknown. The moon signifies, can you walk this path on faith? Because in reality, when you're walking and doing things in the moonlight, you really can't see where you're going. You're judging by kind of what you can see in the shadow world, but you don't know if that big shadow over there is a monster or just a rock. Or if you're actually going in the right direction and in reality you should be going in, you're off the path and you just can't quite tell. So the moon is a scary card of the unknown, but it's also a card of tapping into your intuition. And I think seeing this here, the card truly of connecting to your intuition and the moon, these two are connected, and that you're being asked to face the fear of making another large-scale change to your life and showing yourself as this new version with your newfound truth and entering this unknown space with full knowledge that you're actually going to be shown that you've had all of that information within you to begin with. You know which way to go. Even in darkness, you can navigate through tapping into yourself. Because then on this side we have the Prince of Wands in the world, and the Prince of Wands again is the Knight of Wands in the traditional tarot. And the Knight of Wands is about going out and kind of doing what feels good. That you're testing things out from a place of taking action, and action from based in passion. So the Knight of Wands is somebody it's a card that has the energy of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is kind of the spiritual adventurer. They're the sign that represents being able to just pick up and leave and travel the world and talk to new people and gather information about new cultures and all things spiritual as well. And that's kind of the arcing energy of the Knight of Wands is being able to go out and enjoy life. Enjoy the things that bring you passion. Enjoy the things that fill your cup. But with the world coming in here, the world signifies a wrap up. Signifies this is this is done. You have completed a cycle and you're being asked to start anew. And so this is really your blocking point right now. These are the 2 points of fear and anxiety. A change needs to be made, and this change this time is, I think, providing you with a deeper truth that you've been trying to hide from for probably a long time, but you might just have started to realize it now, that you maybe you tapped on what you knew was your truth, and now you're really starting to see the power of your truth, the clarity of it, how you want to use it, how you're being called to step up and utilize it. But you don't want to because you've been through the shakeup before. You know it's going to involve things that are not going to be easy in the moment, but yet are going to be beneficial for you in the long term. And most likely at this point, again, you're facing the world, you're facing a wrap-up, you're facing the universe saying, you're done. That's why you're being asked to change now, because this whole cycle you just went through is completed. We're on to the next cycle, on to the next version of you, and you're being asked to take our gift of divine love for who you are and what you have, and it's time to move forward and bring this into your external environment. And don't be afraid, because we're here with you, and you have all the answers. You just have to remember we're always here with you. This is kind of like the Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz when she gets to the very end and meets the wizard, and the wizard says, well, you've always had the power to go home. Or he looks at the scarecrow, you've always been heart-centered, or to the scarecrow, you are already brave, or to Tin Man, you have a heart, and to the scarecrow says that you are already, there for others and brave. And it's one of those things where there's a part of ourselves that understands that, but there's a part of ourselves that needs to hear that. We've always had the power within us, that whatever we want to express, whatever truth, it's always tied to this direct connection to spirit. And spirit is always there to say, you've always had the power for emotional fulfillment and to receive love from us. And you always have the power to have clarity on what your personal truth is. You just have to have the courage to step out without knowing exactly what's going to unfold with that, to have faith that it's your purpose. It's your divine place. And the time for being the Prince of Wands is done. It's now time to transform. Because the other part of the Prince of Wands or the Knight of Wands is that he can also kind of be a little scattered. He's the one that might not be the person that you can, let's say, depend on. And so perhaps you have been kind of going out there and testing the waters here and having fun there and kind of getting back to yourself a little bit, especially now that COVID restrictions in some areas are, lessening, lightening up. But you have to take this one step further. It can't just be good enough that you're trying a little of this and trying a little of that while trying to hide the fact that there's a big change in yourself that needs to be made. And so this is really what you're dealing with right now, is fear of moving forward as this new version of self with your shining sword of truth that is now really starting to become a heavy burden in your hand because you're not going out and utilizing it in your external environment. Okay, Libra, I'm going to now pull cards down here for the Triad of Engagement. So we're going to pull cards for curiosity, courage, and contemplation and show you how these are going to help be a guide as to how to navigate over this fear point and really show you, what you're going to be learning about yourself as you connect to your external environment. So the first card we're pulling is for curiosity. And curiosity is really utilizing the concepts of optimism and openness and receptivity, which we can, unfortunately, as we get older, close ourselves off to because of learned negative thought patterns. We begin to believe that we either know everything, have experienced everything, or we just don't even want to go there because we're so afraid of what might come back in. Instead of having the curiosity of a excited child, which is truly optimistic and open and receptive, that there is this, we block ourselves off from seeing the wonder and awe and beauty of our external environment, and we turn it into something that we're afraid of instead. Instead of realizing this is really where we can block ourselves off from possibilities, from opportunities, because we're like, we've already been there. We already know what happens when I do that. I already know what happens when I send out 50 resumes. Nothing happens because the last time I did that, I got no responses. And in reality, we always have to stay open. We have to tap into the best that curiosity has to offer because that's what builds a bridge between our internal selves and our external environment. This is the first step between reopening ourselves up to the possibilities versus blocking ourselves off from anything coming back our way. In addition to that, so when you think of curiosity, and it was interesting because I was watching this TV show on Netflix last night with my husband, and it's a Sweet Tooth, and it's about this little kid who's like half deer, half human. And there's this scene where he is truly like a little kid, and he's asking 100 why questions. Well, why? Well, why? Well, why? Well, how come? Well, why? And what I realized is that with curiosity, especially when it's coming from a child, they truly are asking why or being curious without any expectation of what's coming back to them. So when they ask why, they're truly just asking why. They're not asking why in a leading way where we're saying why. And as an adult, normally when we ask somebody why, we're actually asking them to receive an answer so that then we can either tell them the answer is wrong or right. Or we ask how come, or we ask questions, but in a way that's more leading, in a way that we're already supposing or expecting a specific answer. We're not just asking why with this pure openness to whatever the person's going to say. We're already judging that person, we're judging the situation, and when we ask why or how come or whatever the question might be, we're already anticipating how that person is going to respond, which can color then what we hear and how we respond. And so it really showed me that tapping back into that, the purest form of curiosity, really goes even deeper than just trying to be open and receptive. It's about truly kind of wiping the slate clean of everything that you know so that you truly can be surprised by what comes in, so that you get to tap into that awe and wonder component of, wow, I never knew that person thought about things on this level. And you're there to hear it when they respond in an interesting way. And so that's kind of where I'm even taking curiosity to a deeper level here of wipe the slate clean. If you're being asked to be a new version of yourself, then everything that you've experienced up until now is kind of like throw it out the window. As this new version of yourself, now how do you see your external environment? And how is it going to be new and fresh for you to integrate with it? Especially with rediscovering your truth. How is this truth now going to be needed in your external environment? Perhaps in the past, when you were trying to share this version of yourself, it didn't quite work. Or you thought, the original change you made to your life was only a portion of working with this truth, but now there's more to it. And so when you bring it out, it's got more dimensions out here. And now you're able to have a little bit more self-confidence to understand where and how to use it in a slightly larger way. So for curiosity, we have hostilities and financial constraints. And again, when we're staying open, what I feel right off the bat is that you're closing yourself off. There's already this component of Ace of Swords. I see he's holding a sword. Here's your sword. And it's making me think that you're aware of your truth, but you feel like you're going to have to do this to be able to utilize your truth. That there's this element of, and it's it's a kind of a Five of Swords type card, which the Five of Swords in the tarot represents kind of winning at all costs, or this element where I feel the card specifically represents the illusion that everybody is out to battle our truth. This is when we start to see everybody as an enemy, even before they know us. And it's also where we can create a block where we sit there and we say, well, if I try to share this, no one's going to even accept it anyways. And it's where you present your truth in a defensive way instead of presenting it in this authentic, this is me. It's hard to deny somebody their own truth when they're describing it in the most beneficial and illuminating, inspirational way, even if you don't agree with it. But if they're coming at you right off the bat defensive and almost trying to push it on you, well, you're going to respond in kind and not fully look to understand and appreciate their truth. And then we have financial constraints. And I think the reason perhaps why you guys are afraid to build this bridge is because either you have a negative kind of poverty mindset right now, or you know this change, perhaps in the past that you've had to make, did involve some type of monetary change that was not beneficial to you. And now to face it again is scary. I don't want to open myself up to that. But what I'm seeing here is that really you're being defensive. You're basically using as an excuse to not become the person you're being asked to become, which is going to really be beneficial to your external environment and lead to your emotional fulfillment and being able to take this feeling of love from the divine and being able to bring it out into the world, which is what we really need right now. Is that you're coming from this place of, I can't because I don't have the money. I can't because if I walk away from this job to follow this new passion, I can't put food on the table. Or my partner will never say yes to me doing this because it's not going to it's going to change our financial, flow. Or I can't move because I don't have enough money. Or I can't, fill in the blank. And really what you're being asked to be curious about now is to see this as the illusion, to build this bridge, to understand that what you're being asked to do now is a divine calling. So how can you be open and receptive to how to utilize that instead of being stuck in a closed-minded space and being unreceptive? How can you be solution-oriented instead? And again, if you are being asked, and you feel it, I know you feel it, Libra, if you're being asked to kind of reawaken as this new version of yourself with this new truth, well, what are all the things you need to release? Again, it's about wiping that slate clean. The new you might not care about worldly things the way that the old you used to. The new you might be able to have a conversation with your significant other that creates this amazing realization that your significant other might be the one that's happy now to step into being the head of the household and the income earner. Well, you go off and start to work with your new truth and passion. But you won't know until you release that unreceptivity, until you become open to how in sharing this newfound connection with the divine and this new version of yourself with the external world, you're never going to know how and what is going to come into you until you open that bridge and you release these old patterns. Now I'm going to pull a card for courage. And courage is our seat of power. This is where we get to have the courage to actually take the action, or to make the decision to take the action to then walk across the bridge of openness that we've created for ourselves. All right, Libra, we have surrender to the beauty of the natural world. Take a relaxing break and spend time in nature. Replenish yourself by feeling the beauty and the ecstasy there. Wonderful card. And Libra, you are a sign ruled by Venus, which is a sign of connection to beauty and the feminine. And I think that's really what we get a chance to see a lot of in the natural world, is that connection to just beauty and understanding that everything has a place, but we might not always see that. We could see a forest and it looks like this crazy mess and jumble of different plants and nothing is pruned perfectly and there's 100 different types of insects and animals at any given time, but each one of those animals, insects, plants, all has a purpose and a place. But they get to be themselves and to grow uninhibited. And at the same time, as they are just being themselves, they fulfill a role. They fulfill a specific role and place in that greater connective environment. And I think that's what you need to be reminded of, Libra, is that you fill a role. And especially as the person you are being asked to step into now with this more developed version of your truth and this newfound connection to emotional fulfillment and love from the divine, love of self. This is love of self through knowing that you are loved unconditionally by the divine. That you're being asked to draw courage, to open yourself back up, to exposing this new person that you are with this more defined truth to the external world by being reminded that you have a place to fill. And you should be doing so in a free and unencumbered way. You shouldn't be having to defend yourself, and you shouldn't be held back by fears of not seeing fully what this new version of yourself is going to be capable of. It's more about trusting. Having courage takes faith, just like walking through the moonlight takes faith. Can you walk this path on faith? Well, yes, you can. Yes, you can, because ultimately you have the guidance within you. And I'm going to pull a card now for contemplation. And contemplation is our ticket back across the bridge. So curiosity helps us become open again to our external environment. We get to shut down fear and anxiety and frustration and say, you know what? I'm just going to go out and see what's out there now. Courage is what helps give us the faith to walk across that bridge to engage with the external environment. And now contemplation gets us to say, okay, I've gone out, I've engaged with my external environment, and now I'm going to walk back across and sit with my unique internal self and say, what did I learn? What did I, through direct experience, get a chance to work with myself? What can I learn from that to then continue to engage and bring forward once again? So perhaps you learn about a specific gift or ability and realize, okay, wow, this is awesome. This is what I'm going to now walk back across the bridge and take further courageous action to continue to engage with my external environment. Or you come back and you say, ooh, you know, this part was great. I also realized that this part, not so great. And this is where we get to continue our self-education. And we don't do so in a place of judgment and fear. We do so in a place of reflection and integration. And ultimately, this is where we transcend. This is where we change. This is where we evolve and grow. And in turn, our perception and engagement with our external environment changes as we change. And so that's how we get a chance to have our external environment grow along with us, because our perception and our ability to engage authentically changes. So we change here to ultimately see a change here. So in contemplation, we have Lemuria, creating heaven on earth, it's happening. This is a beautiful card, Libra. It's interesting because I feel like this has come up quite a bit in the readings this month. So we're all working with the energy of what is our version of heaven on earth. What is our version of true, I'd say, unfiltered connection to the divine? What does that feel like for us? I say a lot that one man's heaven is another man's hell. And that's why it's really that kind of concept that allows me to see us each as singularities, because no two people are ever going to have the same outlook as to what would be their version of heaven. People can get close, they can share an ideal, but the details of that ideal eventually are going to come down to only one unique perspective, and that's yours, or the person who is imagining that version of heaven. And so this is where you're being asked to contemplate on what is your version of heaven, not somebody else's, not your significant others, not your bosses, not your parents. What's your vision of heaven on earth? Because you're being asked to step up as this new person and share your truth to be able to help create a piece of that in your external environment right now. But you have to be aware of what that looks like for you. You have to be aware of what that feels like for you. And as you do, you'll be able to bring this part of yourself, this divine love of self, this divine unconditional love for everybody, out in a much more powerful way to engage with your external environment, because you're going to start to understand that when you come from a place of love, you can appreciate everybody's differences as much as you appreciate your own. So contemplate, Libra, as to what your vision of heaven is, and to know that you're creating it, that you're being asked right now to step up as this new you, to face the changes that very possibly are going to happen in your external environment. And yeah, it is going to take having faith in the unknown elements of engaging with your external environment again, because we can't control things in our external environment. The one thing that we can control is ourselves and our perspective. All right, Libra, I'm going to pull a few additional cards for your energy and then for your external energy. So we have strength. And let's see if anything else wants to come out for you guys. We've got a chunk here. Strength, 7 of Wands, 2 of Cups, and Queen of Coins. So strength. Strength is such a wonderful card, and it goes really hand in hand here with, going within and having this internal change of perspective. And strength really focuses on understanding that strength doesn't have to be this outward display of strength, of forcing your will in another. Instead, strength comes from understanding that you can tap into divine grace and make small actions in accordance with living your most authentic and highest potentiality into the world from a place of quiet self-awareness. And that is more, that equates more to being strong than it does for you to go out and actively look like this man here with his sword raised, trying to scare people or impose your version of self on them. Instead, this says you can be strong inside. That sometimes strength, a more powerful and impactful form of strength, can be when we choose to simply end the argument and walk away. Or we make the choice to express ourselves, but in an optimistic and inspiring way, instead of coming from a place of trying to convince. And coming down into 7 of Wands, 2 of Cups, and Queen of Coins. So the 7 of Wands is about having that moment to have reflection on Is it worth it for me to defend my passion or my actions? And coupled with the Two of Cups and the Ace of Coins, or the Queen of Coins, what I'm seeing here is there's this component of you sitting with this energy of, is it worth it? But is it worth it for you to share your cup with another? And the answer is yes, it is. It is. And what you'll get a chance to see when you go out into the external world is you'll get a chance to see where to put your energies, because the Queen of Coins nurtures her gift in the tangible world to see real results. She's the one that takes the seed and helps grow it into the beautiful oak tree. She is the ultimate nurturing mother. But what I'm seeing here is that you're going to have the answer to your question. Is it worth it for me to defend what I feel I need to take action on now? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, because what you're going to discover is that it's okay now to be strong and to show vulnerability, strength through vulnerability, and sharing your cup with another who will share theirs with you. And that ultimately, in doing so, this is going to uncover what you can nurture now in your current environment. It's going to give you a little bit of insight into being able to mother yourself, I think, along with whatever you're going to be growing and bringing forward here. And we have the Star for your external environment, and this is so beautiful. The Star is your star. It's your guiding star. It represents that dream or desire that is unique to you. It's the underlying, when you ask, why am I doing this? It's the answer that calls from deep within you. It's because I want to be of service in this capacity to others. Because I want fill in the blank. The Star represents something different to every single person. But what you'll realize, if you can have the strength to step forward as this new version of self and face whatever changes come, you're starting a new cycle, it's okay. Start fresh, wipe the slate clean, come forward as your new self, fully understanding and coming from a place of self-love and divine love, that you, as you start to integrate this and engage it with your external environment as this new, fresh being, you'll realize that you have the answers within you, and that you'll once again see your purpose, your guiding star, and that is what will guide you through this kind of unknowingness, this darkness, because that star will be your guiding point in the sky. Beautiful reading, Libra. It's a powerful one, but it's a difficult one. You guys are sitting with some really intense energy, but internal energy. So I have this kind of feeling that people around you might not even realize that you're going through this deep, deep transformation right now. They might just see you as, Libra's acting a little differently. Maybe you've been going out and having fun, starting up new projects, getting out and being a little more social. But what this is really kind of hiding under the surface is this larger transformation of self. And it's basically, the time is now. You're being called up. You're being called up by the divine to come forward now, because you have discovered something new about yourself, this new truth that needs to be brought back out into the world right now. And especially Libra, as I was saying, you guys get to tap into the superpower of justice, fairness, blind equality, which is different than equality or justice that is equated to what, for instance, like social justice. And this might trigger some of you, but unfortunately, it's how I see things. That social justice is in context with whatever society you're in at the time, whatever the cultural norms are, whatever you're being influenced by in your external environment. But there is a level of blind justice and blind fairness, of universal justice and fairness. And that is not held or bound by structures in society currently, or held in place by what your family sees as fair, or what even the world at large sees as fair. You have this superpower to be able to dive a lot deeper, to see a lot deeper. And on a mental level, because you guys are an air sign, you are actually the cardinal air sign, Libra. So you are really meant kind of as part of your divine destiny when you have Libra in one of your 3 major house placements, is really to step up and into a leadership role in the area of divine justice. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to step up and become a lawyer or a judge. What it does mean is that you are going to be asked probably at some point in your life to step up and to become a leader for some type of cause that helps to balance some aspect of the greater collective human experience. And that you're bringing forth this element of divine justice, divine balance, where others might not see it. It's like, again, looking at an overgrown forest. You have the chance to be able to see the beauty in the balance and to work with those energies where others don't. Because you, being an air sign, get to tap into the mental side of your existence, and you get a chance to use your imagination to explore the different what ifs, to be able to see, just kind of like this here, all the different sides to something. But you can take that a step further and be able to see the bigger picture, the one unifying factor between everything, and be able to act from that place. That's the superpower of being a Libra that other signs don't harness. So Libra, have full faith that you're being asked right now to step into a place of utilizing that superpower, because it's needed in this world right now. We need fairness and justice and balance. And we need somebody, we need each one of you to come forward with your own unique perspective and truth to fulfill all these little areas that need to be balanced out. All of these little places where there is injustice that needs to be righted. All right, Libra, I hope that this has been beneficial to you and that you see it as powerfully as I feel it right now. And I look forward to reading for your next spiritual connection reading here. And if you'd like to book a personal reading or a one-on-one spiritual coaching session, the link to my website is in the description box below. Bye, Libra.